What if I told you the strongest truck of 1949 wasn't a Ford or a Chevy? It was a massive beast called the International KB-10. This truck could pull 50,000 pounds when everything else was struggling. Today we're looking at the ultimate post-war powerhouse, the Beast from 1949. Imagine standing on a dusty farm road in 1949. You see the usual suspects, Fords, Chevys, maybe a Dodge. But then you hear a deep, low growl that sounds more like a locomotive than a pickup. Around the corner comes a truck with a massive chrome grille that looks like it has silver wings. It is huge, it is heavy, and it is carrying a load that would make any other truck on the road snap in half. This was the International KB-10. Back in the late 1940s, America was changing. The war was over, and people wanted to build things. They needed to move big loads across a country that was still mostly dirt roads and steep hills. While other companies were focused on making pretty cars for the suburbs, International Harvester was busy building the most durable machines on the planet. The KB-10 was the final boss of their heavy-duty lineup. It wasn't just a truck. It was a tool for people who had real work to do. But here's the crazy part. Even though this truck was a legend in its day, it almost didn't happen. The story of how International Harvester went from making farm tools to building this 50,000-pound monster is full of surprises. And the secret to why it was so strong actually starts with a tiny logo called the Triple Diamond. Wait until you see what was hiding under the hood of this beast, because it changed how we think about power forever. The International Harvester Giant. To understand the KB-10, we have to look at the company that made it. International Harvester, or IH, wasn't your average car company. They started out way back in 1902. Back then, they were the kings of the farm. If you were a farmer in the early 1900s, everything you owned probably had an IH logo on it. They made tractors, harvesters, and even things like cream separators and refrigerators. Because they built machines for farmers, they knew one thing better than anyone else: durability. If a tractor breaks down in the middle of harvest, a farmer loses money. So IH built everything to be over-engineered. They used thicker steel, bigger bolts, and engines that could run forever. By the 1930s, they were one of the biggest corporations in America. They had a reputation for building trucks that were simple, tough, and reliable. But IH had a problem. Most people saw them as the tractor guys. They wanted to prove they could compete with the big city truck makers. They wanted to show that their trucks could handle the toughest jobs in the world, from the logging camps of the Northwest to the construction sites of the growing cities. This desire to be the best is what led to the K-Series, which eventually gave us the KB-10. But before they could build the perfect truck, they had to survive the biggest challenge in human history: pre-war design in a post-war world. In December 1940, International launched the K-Series. It was a huge hit. It had a new design with headlights built right into the fenders and a sleek, rounded hood. But just as the K-Series was starting to take over the market, Pearl Harbor happened. Suddenly, IHE wasn't making trucks for farmers or construction workers anymore. They were making them for the Army. For almost 4 years, the entire manufacturing power of International Harvester went to the war effort. They made tractors, engines, and thousands of military trucks. This meant they didn't have time to design new civilian models. When the war finally ended in 1945, there was a massive hunger for trucks. Every business in America needed new wheels. International did what every other company did. They took their pre-war K-Series design and gave it a quick refresh. This is how the KB series was born in March 1947. People today call these pre-war designs in a post-war world. They looked classic, but they had all the lessons learned from the war built into the metal. The KB series was tougher because IH had spent 4 years learning how to build trucks that could survive a battlefield. But the KB-10 was different from the smaller trucks in the lineup. While the KB-1 through KB-3 were light-duty pickups, the KB-10 was a monster designed for the heaviest hauls. It was the peak of this old-school design. But how do you tell the difference between a regular K truck and the legendary KB series? The answer is in the wings. The chrome wing mystery. If you see an old International truck at a car show, you might struggle to tell if it's a K or a KB. They look almost identical at first. They both have that beautiful, rounded alligator-style hood. They both have the headlights tucked into the fenders. But if you look closer at the grille, you'll see the secret. The KB series added what fans call wings. These are chrome extensions that go out from the sides of the grille. It made the truck look wider and more aggressive. On the heavy trucks like the KB-10, they also moved the triple diamond logo to the very top of the grille chromework. They added chrome lettering on the sides of the hood so everyone knew exactly which model was coming down the road. These changes weren't just for looks. They signaled that International was entering a new era of luxury and power. But the real power wasn't in the chrome. It was hidden deep inside the frame. The KB-10 used a specialized engine that was so strong, other truck makers were scared of it. This engine had a name that sounded like a superhero, the Red Diamond. The Red Diamond Heart. Let's talk about what made the KB-10 a legend. It was the engine. Most trucks in 1949 were using small, underpowered motors. But the KB-10 came standard with the Red Diamond 401. This was a massive inline-six gasoline engine. It had 401 cubic inches of displacement. To put that into perspective, that is bigger than many modern V8 engines. The Red Diamond was built for one thing: torque. It didn't care about going fast, it cared about moving heavy things. It had a 7-main bearing crankshaft, which made it incredibly stable under pressure. It used an overhead valve design, which was pretty advanced for a heavy truck at the time. This motor put out 126 horsepower, which might not sound like a lot today, but back then, it was a huge amount of pulling power. But here is the part that will blow your mind. This engine was so reliable that International used versions of it for decades. It was designed to be repaired easily. You could get to everything without taking the whole truck apart. For a driver in 1949, this was a dream. If you were in the middle of nowhere and something went wrong, you could usually fix it with basic tools. This never say die attitude is why people fell in love with the KB-10. But how much could this thing actually pull? The numbers are hard to believe. The 50,000-pound pull. When you look at a KB-10, you aren't just looking at a big truck. You're looking at a machine that could pull 50,000 combined pounds. In 1949, that was a massive number. Most people were used to trucks that could handle 2 or 3 tons. The KB-10 was in a completely different league. To handle all that weight, International didn't just give it a big engine. They gave it a heavy-duty powertrain. It had 2 choices for 5-speed transmissions. You could get a direct drive or an overdrive version. It also had 3 different rear axle options. You could get a single reduction, a dual reduction, or a 2-speed rear axle. This meant a driver could find the perfect gear for any hill or any load. The KB-10 also came with standard air brakes. This was vital because if you are pulling 50,000 pounds, you need a way to stop it. Most smaller trucks were still using hydraulic brakes, but International knew that for a heavy beast like this, air was the only way to go. This made the KB-10 one of the safest heavy trucks on the road. It gave drivers the confidence to take on the biggest jobs. But what was it like to actually sit inside this thing? The cab of the future. If you climbed into the cab of a KB-10 in 1949, you would be surprised by how simple it was. There were no touchscreens or heated seats. It was all metal, wood, and leather. But for the time, it was considered very comfortable. International used a V-type windshield, which gave the driver a great view of the road. The dashboard had a large speedometer right in the center, with 4 smaller gauges around it to keep track of the oil, water, fuel, and battery. Everything was easy to read and easy to reach. There was even a speaking tube in some specialized models so the people in the back could talk to the driver. One of the most popular features was the heating and ventilation. International knew that truck drivers spent long hours in their cabs, so they tried to make the airflow as good as possible. It was a workspace. It was built for men who wore work boots and flannel shirts. It was noisy and it smelled like gasoline and sweat, but to a driver in 1949, it was the best office in the world. But the KB-10 wasn't just used for hauling freight. It had a secret life that most people don't know about. War-ready, farm-tough. Because the KB-10 was so strong, it was used for some of the most specialized jobs in the world. Many of them were turned into fire trucks. If you look at fire engine history from the late 40s, you will see the KB-10 everywhere. Its big red diamond engine was perfect for carrying heavy water tanks and powering large pumps. They were also used as logging trucks. They would head into the deep woods, get loaded up with massive tree trunks, and crawl back out over mud and rocks. The KB-10 didn't care about the terrain. Its heavy-duty frame and dual rear wheels meant it could go almost anywhere. In some parts of the world, like Brazil, the KB-10 was a lifeline. International had a huge presence there, and these trucks were used to build the roads and infrastructure that connected the country. They were so respected that even decades later, people still talk about them with a sense of wonder. They were the backbone of the post-war building boom. But how did the KB-10 stack up against the competition? The International versus the Big Three. In the late 1940s, the Big Three, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, were fighting for every customer. But International Harvester was the quiet giant that consistently held the second or third spot in sales. They didn't have the massive marketing budgets of Ford or GM, but they had something better: trust. Farmers and construction bosses trusted IH. They knew that a Ford might look prettier, but an International would work harder. The KB-10 was often compared to the heavy-duty F-Series from Ford. While Ford was making great strides, many people felt that the International had a more durable chassis and a better heavy-duty engine. The KB-10 was also cheaper to maintain than many of its rivals. Because IH used so many shared parts across their tractors and trucks, finding spares was easy. You could walk into any farm supply store and find what you needed. This made the KB-10 the smart choice for anyone who needed a truck that would pay for itself. But all good things must come to an end. The end of a legend. By late 1949, the world was moving on. The pre-war design of the KB series was starting to look old. People wanted more modern cabs with more room and better visibility. They wanted trucks that looked like the 1950s, not the 1930s. International Harvester knew they had to change. In October 1949, they replaced the KB series with the all-new L series. The L series was a massive change. It had a completely different cab, a flat one-piece windshield, and a much more modern look. It was the end of an era. The KB-10 was the last of the old-school heavy trucks from International. But even though production stopped, the KB-10 didn't disappear. Because they were built so well, thousands of them stayed on the road for decades. Some were still working on farms and in small towns well into the 1970s and 80s. They became a symbol of American strength. But what happened to all those trucks? And can you still find one today? The legacy of the KB-10. Today, the International KB-10 is a rare and highly prized collector's item. Because they were work trucks, many of them were driven until they literally fell apart. Finding one in good condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, but when you do find one, it is a sight to behold. Collectors love them because of that iconic winged grille and the massive presence they have. Restoring a KB-10 is a big job because of its size, but it is a labor of love for many truck fans. There is nothing quite like seeing a fully restored KB-10 rolling down the road, its red diamond engine purring like a giant cat. But there is a bigger legacy than just the trucks themselves. The KB-10 proved that you could build a heavy-duty machine that was both beautiful and incredibly tough. It influenced the design of heavy trucks for years to come. Even the Soviet Union was so impressed by these trucks that they built their own version, the ZIS-150, which stayed in production in some form until 1986. That is how good the design was. Why the KB-10 still matters. So why are we still talking about a truck from 1949? We talk about it because it represents a time when things were built to last. In a world of disposable products, the KB-10 is a reminder of what happens when a company puts quality and durability above everything else. It tells the story of an America that was rebuilding itself after a global crisis. It tells the story of the workers, the drivers, and the farmers who built the modern world. Every time you see a massive semi-truck on the highway today, you are seeing the great-grandchild of the KB-10. International Harvester may be a different company today, but the spirit of the Triple Diamond lives on in every heavy-duty machine that refuses to quit. The KB-10 wasn't just a truck, it was a promise. a promise that no matter how heavy the load or how long the road, the job would get done. How to spot a real KB-10. If you are ever at a vintage truck show and you want to impress your friends, here's how you spot a real KB-10. First, look at the size. It is much bigger than the KB-1 or KB-2. Look for those dual rear wheels and the heavy-duty iron spoke wheels. Next, check the hood. It should have the model designation KB-10 in chrome on the side. If you are lucky enough to see under the hood, look for that massive red diamond engine. It's a long, tall inline-six that takes up the whole engine bay. Finally, look at the grille. If it has those beautiful chrome wings and the triple diamond logo at the very top, you are looking at one of the finest heavy trucks ever made. Take a moment to appreciate it. You are looking at a piece of history that helped build the world we live in today. The final payout, the story of the International KB-10, is a story of power, grit, and incredible engineering. It was a truck that did the heavy lifting when the world needed it most. It combined the lessons of war with the needs of peace to create something truly special. But knowing about the history of heavy trucks is only one part of the story. If you want to see how these old-school powerhouses compare to the wild experimental vehicles of the 1950s, you need to check out this next video. We look at the trucks that were so crazy they were banned from the road. I'll see you there. Wait, one more thing. I almost forgot to tell you about the most famous KB-10 of all. There was a specialized version called the KB-11F, which was a 6x4 giant that could handle almost 80,000 pounds. But even that monster couldn't beat the KB-10 for pure classic style. If you enjoyed this look at the heavy-duty icons of the 1940s, make sure to let me know in the comments. I love hearing about your favorite old-school trucks and any stories you have about the legendary International binders, the secret to its strength. Here's a secret about the KB-10. The reason it felt so steady on the road was its frame. International used a beefier chassis design that was developed during the war. They used special heat-treated steel that could flex without snapping. This frame allowed the truck to carry massive loads over uneven ground without the body twisting or the doors jamming shut. It was a small detail, but it was the difference between a truck that lasted 5 years and a truck that lasted 50. It's these tiny engineering choices that make a machine a legend. The KB-10 was full of them. From the red diamond engine to the air brakes and the heavy-duty frame, every inch of this truck was built for greatness.